Hey Rock Hill, Pastor Kyle here with your sermon recap on Monday. Yesterday we looked at kind of the famous marriage passage in Ephesians chapter 5 verses 21 to 33. The practical instructions to both husbands and wives of what we're called to do in order to reflect God as Trinity to a watching world, and in order to reflect the relationship that God has with His people, Jesus has with His church to a watching world. And so there's a lot at stake in marriage. God is deeply invested in it. Therefore, a man shall leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. This is a profound mystery, but I'm speaking of Christ and the church. It should come as no surprise then that spiritually speaking, our marriages are often under spiritual attack because of the incredible opportunity that they have to image the relationship God has with His people to a watching world. In fact, marriage is in a really rough state today. About 45% of all marriages end in divorce. Now, this is very different in Christian circles than it is in just our society at large. You may have heard a statistic otherwise. That's not actually true. And so the core command to the men and the women, or the husbands and wives, are this. Husbands, love and lead your wife like Jesus loves and leads the church. It's a picture of servant-hearted leadership where a man is willing to pour out his life to create an environment where his wife flourishes and thrives, where he takes seriously a call to lead her spiritually, to care for her, and to give his very life for her. Wives then likewise are called to submit to their husbands as to the Lord. And so for both the husband and the wife, Jesus becomes our picture or our example of what it looks like to both submit as Jesus perfectly submitted to His Father, and to lead as in Jesus poured out His life for the sake of His bride, the church. Now, a question I often get is, does that mean that men and women, or husbands and wives, are not equal? And that's not really true at all. In Genesis 1, we see that both male and female are created fully in the image of God. In Galatians 3, that we see that both male and female are full heirs of God, co-heirs with Jesus Christ, sons of the King. And so men, women, husbands, wives, all sons of the King. If that's weird for ladies, well, guys, you're the bride of Christ. So this has nothing to do with equality or inequality, but rather a difference of roles, very much like the Trinity. None of us would say that Jesus is somehow less than His Father because He submits to Him. In the same way, the Spirit submits to and is sent by both the Son and the Father, and yet the Helper, the Spirit, which is the very term given to the wife in Genesis chapter 2, is an elevated role, not a dehumanized role. And so, husbands, love your wife like Christ loves the church. Wives, submit to your husbands and make it a pleasure to lead you. Finally, he says, husbands, love your wives. Wives, respect your husbands. This deals with the core needs of both husbands and wives, men with the desire to be respected, women with the desire to be loved and cherished. If you'd like to dig a little deeper into these verses, I would just welcome you to go check out the sermon online. But I hope that whets your appetite and gives you some good food for discussion at City Group this week.